Okay. Last time, where I left off. EAP Tunneled Transport Layer Security. EAP TTLS. EAP TT EAP Tunnel Transport Layer Security, EAP TTLS, is an EAP protocol that extends TLS. It was co-developed by Funk Software and Certron and is widely supported across platforms. Microsoft did not incorporate native support for EAP TLS protocol in Windows Vista or 7. Supporting TTLS on these platforms require third-party encryption control protocol (ECP) encryption control protocol. It requires third-party encryption protocol. Certified software. Microsoft Windows started EAP TTLS support in Windows 8. However, Windows Phone 8 does not support TTLS, while version 8.1 supports it. Okay. The client can, but does not have to be authenticated via a CA signed PKI certificate to the server. This generally simplifies the setup procedure since a certificate is not needed on every client. After the server is securely authenticated to the client via its CA, and optionally the client to the server can then use the established secure connection tunnel to authenticate the client. I don't know what that just said. After the server is securely authenticated to the client via its CA certificate, and optionally the client to the server Okay. Let me just work this out. Server client. After the server is securely authenticated to the client via its CA certificate, and optionally the client to the server can then use the established secure connection to authenticate the client. I don't understand what that just said. The server is securely authenticated after the server is securely authenticated to the client via its certificate, and optionally the client to the server can use the established secure connection to authenticate the client. Why? Oh, because it's a CA certificate tunneled communication. So it's EAP communication, then tunneled within a certificate, and then the handshake can happen. It can use an existing and widely deployed authentication protocol and infrastructure, incorporating legacy password mechanisms, and authentication databases. While the secure tunnel provides protection from eavesdropping and man-in-the-middle attacks, note that the user's name is never transmitted in unencrypted clear text, improving privacy. It can be used on existing and widely deployed authentication protocol and infrastructure, incorporating legacy password mechanisms and authentication databases, while the secure tunnel provides protection from eavesdropping. Right, so the tunnel of the certificate protects from the man in the middle because it's encrypted. And you can't see it because it's encrypted. Then a password can be passed through. Username and password can be passed through. Okay. Two distinct versions of EAP-TTLS exist. Original EAP-TTLS, aka EAP-TTLS v0 and EAP-TTLS v1. V0 is described in RFC 5281, while V1 is available as an internet draft. I don't understand. So TTLS creates a tunnel. So, okay, the username and password are encrypted within that tunnel. They're not just encrypted, they're encrypted within an encryption. Okay. That makes sense. I think I understood that. EAP Internet Key Exchange, EAP IKE v2. EAP Internet Key Exchange v2 is an EAP method based on the Internet Key Exchange Protocol version 2. So what does that mean? What is the Internet Key Exchange? History, architecture. Okay. Where is V2? Okay, so that's in the architect. Okay. That's under here. Okay. So before we can go to EAP IKE v2, we have to look at IKE. Okay. The architecture of IKE. Most IPsec implementations consist of an IKE daemon that runs in the user space and the IPsec stack in the kernel that processes the actual IP packets. Wait a minute. The IPsec implementations consist of an IKE daemon. Don't go computing. Okay, good. Just terminology. The term coined for they took the name from Maxwell Daemon as imaginary being from a thought experiment that constantly works in the background. blah blah blah. That's how it's got created. Terminology, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's a daemon. It's a service. Okay. That runs in the user space and in the IPsec stack. In and Okay, what did that just say? Most IPsec implementations consist of an IKE daemon that runs on the user space and an IPsec stack in the kernel that processes the actual IP packets. So the IPsec implementation has an IKE daemon and a IPsec stack in the kernel that processes the IP packets. The user space daemon have easy access to mass storage containing configuration information such as the IPsec endpoint address, keys, and certificates as required. Kernel modules, on the other hand, can process packets efficiently with minimal overhead, which is important for performance reasons. Okay, so the daemon is the database, and the kernel processes the the packets. Okay. The IKE protocol uses UDP packets, usually in port 500, and generally requires 4 to 6 packets with 2 to 3 turnaround times to create a SA on both sides. The negotiated key material is then given to the IPsec stack. For instance, this could be an ASE key, AES key, information identifying the IP endpoints and ports that are to be protected. No, didn't understand that. Did not understand that. IKE protocol uses turnaround times. Great. Okay, great. The negotiated key materials is given to the IPsec stack. For instance, this could be the AES key, information identifying the IP endpoints and ports that are to be protected, as well as what type of IPsec tunnel has been created. Then the IPsec stack, in turn, intercepts the relevant IP packets if and where appropriate, and performs encryption, decryption as required. Implementations vary on how the interception of the packets is done. For example, some use virtual devices, others take a slice out of the firewall, etc. IKE v1 consists of 2 phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Oh. Wow. Okay. No. Here. Okay. IKE phase 1 phases. IKE v1 phases. The IKE phase 1 purpose is to establish a secure, authenticated communication channel by using the Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm to generate shared secret key to encrypt further IKE encryptions. This negotiation results in one single bidirectional ISAKMP Security Association SA. The authentication can be performed using either pre-shared key, shared secret, signatures, or public key encryption. Phase 1 operates in either main or aggressive mode. Main mode protects the identity of the peers. Aggressive mode does not. During IKE Phase 2, the IKE peers use the secure channel established in Phase 1 to negotiate security associations on behalf of other services like IPsec. The negotiation results in a minimum of 2 unidirectional security associations, one inbound and one outbound. Phase 2 operates only in quick mode. The problems with IKE. Originally, IKE had numerous configuration options but lacked a general facility for automatic negotiations of a well-known default case that a universally implemented. No, did not understand that. Originally, IKE had numerous configuration options but lacked a general facility for automatic negotiations of well-known default case that is universally implemented. Consequently, both sides of an IKE had to exactly agree on the type of security association they wanted to create. Let me read that one more time. Both sides of the IKE had to exactly agree on the type of security association they wanted to create, option by option, or connection could not be established. Yeah, that makes sense. I ran into that problem. Further complications arose from the fact that in many implementations, the debug output was difficult to interpret. If there was any facility to produce diagnostic output at all. What? Further complications arose from the fact that in many implementations, the debug output was difficult to interpret it. Oh, okay. If there was any, yeah, so the debug, you could not translate the debug. That makes sense. Oh, God. The IKE specifications were open to a significant degree of interpretation, bordering on design faults. Dead peer detection being case in point, given a rise to different IKE implementations not being able to create an agreed upon security association at all of many combinations of options. However, correctly configured, they might appear at either end. The IKE specifications were open to a significant degree of interpretations, bordering on default designs, giving rise to different IKE implementations not being able to create an agreed upon security association at all for many combinations at all four. I gotta do those. At all However correctly configured they may appear to be. So what does that mean? That means there's a lot of interpretation, not all the same, and the configuration looks the exact same, but it would not establish. Okay. Because of one manufacturer saying one thing and another manufacturer saying another. Yeah. Improvements with IKE v2. The need and intent of the overhaul of IKE protocol was described in Appendix A of RFC 4306. The following issues were addressed. Fewer RFCs. The specification for IKE were covered in the latest 3 RFCs, more if one takes into account NAT transversal and other extensions that are in common use. IKEv2 combines these in one RFC, as well as making improvements to support for NAT transversal and firewall transversal in general. Okay, so yeah, they truncated all the RFCs in the V2 standard. Standard mobility support. There is a standard extension for IKE v2 named MobIKE used to support mobility and multi-homing for it and ESP. I don't know what ESP means. What does ESP mean? 9, highlight. Espanol. Encapsulation security payload. Okay. That's ESP. No. Encapsulation of IKE and encapsulation security protocol in UDP port 4500 enables these protocols to pass through a device or firewall performing NAT. Okay. SCTP support. IKEv2 allows for SCTP protocol. Don't say P protocol. Is that? Yeah. Stream Secure Protocol. As used in Internet Telephony VoIP. Simple message exchange. IKEv2 has one 4-message initial exchange mechanism where IKE provided 8 distinctly different initial exchange mechanisms. Each one had slightly advantages and disadvantages. Fewer cryptographic mechanisms. IKEv2 uses cryptographic mechanisms to protect its packets that are very similar to what IPsec encapsulation security payload uses to protect the IPsec packets. This led to similar implementations and certifications for common criteria in FIPS, which require each cryptographic implementation to be separately validated. Reliably and state management. IKE2 uses sequence numbers and acknowledgements to provide reliability and some some error processing logistics and shared state management. IKE could end up in a dead state due to lack of such reliability measures, where both parties were expecting the other to initiate an action, which never eventuated. Eventuated. Workarounds such as a dead peer detection were developed but not standardized. That meant that different implementations of workarounds were not always compatible. Denial of service attack resilience. IKEv2 does not perform such processing until it determines if the requester actually exists. This addressed some of the the DOS problems suffered by IKE, which perform a lot of extensive cryptographic processing from spoofed locations. This can be explained like this. No, I understood that. Okay. So that's IKEv2 improvements on IKE. And IKE is in two phases. Gotcha. Okay. It provides mutual authentication sessions established. It supports authentication techniques that are based on the following types of credentials. Asymmetric key pairs, public and private key pairs, where the public is embedded in the digital certificate and the corresponding private key is known only to a single party. Passwords, low in crypto, bit strings that are known to both the server and the peer. Systematic keys high in symmetrical. Symmetric keys they are high entropy bit streams that are known to both server and peer. It is possible to use a different authentication credentials and thereby techniques in each direction. For example, the EAP server authenticates itself by using a public-private key pair, and the EAP pair using symmetric keys. In particular, the following combinations are expected to be used in practice. The EAP server has an asymmetric key pair, and I could use another asymmetric key pair, a symmetric key, or a simple password. But if they have symmetric keys by the server, a symmetric key is used. Those are best practice. Okay. What the hell? Oh. So let me just recap now. What did I learn so far? I've learned Leap, which is a Cisco-based proprietary that is loosely based on MS Chap. TLS, which requires a client-side certificate. MD5 hash algorithms, which is obsolete. Protected one-time passwords, which require mechanism. Pre-shared key is a password, a simple password. And each password is similar to a pre-shared key. Tunneled transit layer security, TTLS, creates a secure tunnel with certificates to pass authentication. And now Internet Key Exchange v2 is passing. I don't know what v2 is. I don't know. So I got there. There's 14 to go. Encapsulation. Here 2.1x. Eep over LAN. That's an encapsulation. Okay. Okay. That is 82.1x. And then I can do radius. Okay. Okay, so I understood what EEP is. Okay. Supplicants, implementations. Overview of 802.1x. 802.1x authentication involves three parties: supplicant, an authenticator, and authentication server. The supplicant client, yeah, got all that. Yeah. Protocol operations. eProl operates at the network layer on top of the data link layer, and the Ethernet 2 framing protocol has an Ethernet type value of that. Okay. 802.1x defines two logical port entries for authentication port: the control port and the uncontrolled port. The control port is manipulated by the 802.1x port access entity to allow the authorized state, or prevent the unauthorized state. Network traffic ingressing and egressing to and from controlled port. What is ingress and egress? to and from? I know it's to and from, but what is no. Dictionary doesn't got it. Ingressing. It doesn't matter. Okay. The uncontrolled port is used by the 802.1x payee to transmit and receive EAP over LAN frames. (802.1x 2004) defines the equivalent port entities for supplicant, and so supplicant implementing 802.1x 2004 may prevent higher level protocols being used if it is not content that authentication has successfully completed. This is particularly useful when an EAP method providing mutual authentication is used, as a supplicant can prevent data leakage when connected to an unauthorized network. Initialization on. Detects of a new supplicant port on the switch. Oh. Okay. I think I'm done for now. But I will continue off of typical authentication progression.